Keeneland, every moment matters.
Welcome to another edition of the TDN Writers Room podcast presented by Keeneland. My name is Bill Finley. I'm a correspondent for the Thoroughbred Daily News. And how about my Boston Red Sox, guys? Whoa.
You didn't even want to talk about it at the beginning of the season. You were like, no, don't even mention it. You're kicking me while I'm down. Man, they're rolling right now. Randy Moss, by the way, NBC Sports and the Beyer Speed Figure crew.
Zoe Cadman with First Racing and First TV. What's the tally now? Last week it was 14. What are we up to now?
They won 15 straight, then they lost a couple games, but they're still rolling. They won last night, so it's made my summer. My summer is back. So
he smiles. No, he smiles. Look at this. It's so cute.
Aww,
he was pretty surly there for a while, in the middle of that losing streak at the beginning of the year.
Worst record in the American League, of course I was. But anyway, so horse racing talk. The big stakes race over the weekend, of course, was the Coaching Club American Oaks, won by Counting Stars. You're going to hear from Terry Finley, the president and founder of the West Point Thoroughbreds, which owns that fabulous filly. He's the Gainesway Guest of the Week, so we'll talk more about that. Guys, I don't really have much to say other than she's really good. And, she's had this rivalry with Always a Runner. Always a Runner beat her in the Kentucky Oaks, and then she's come back and just whipped her in the next two races and has now won two straight Grade 1 races. Obviously the best 3-year-old filly in the country. And she's fun to watch, Randy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's tremendously talented. It's funny how in thoroughbred racing narratives evolve and narratives can completely change. I mean, we always think we know more than we do anyway. And then we say, oh, well, she won the fantasy stakes because Explora scratched. And, oh, well, she can't beat Always a Runner. She had a great trip in the Kentucky Oaks and Always a Runner just blew her away. And before all that, she had been running some really good races at Oaklawn. And then all of a sudden she ran in a race called the Martha Washington and she was beaten 60 lengths, and she wasn't eased. She just completely stopped running. And at that point, it looked like her career's probably over. She probably hurt herself. I mean, good horses don't run that badly. And Cassie got her back and found absolutely nothing wrong with her. And it was a head scratcher then, and it's a head scratcher now. So all of these things in her background, I mean, going on, and then she gets to Saratoga, and all of a sudden she goes from being a really good horse to a really, really good horse. And right now she's in the driver's seat in the 3-year-old filly division.
And she most certainly has touted herself in the morning. She's been working exceedingly well. That being said, Always a Runner going into that was working well. And plain and simple, she got beat on the square. Always a Runner got a good cozy trip on the inside, was given room on the inside to come through. And for a minute, it looks like Always a Runner was going to stamp her ticket to the wire. And Counting Stars just found another gear. She is an overachieving daughter of Honor AP, by far the best progeny that he's sired to date. I can remember seeing her at the OBS sale. Very pretty filly. She didn't wow me on the racetrack, I have to tell you that. But she was very pretty, and she's really filled out over the course of the past year for trainer Mark Cassie. She seems to be just thriving here. She's a filly who's made everybody money. Every single person that's ever owned her. She was bought for $13,000 at the Keeneland September sale. She was pinhooked for $150,000 the following spring at OBS. And now she's made, $1.4 million? She's just a filly who keeps on giving. She really is. She's cool.
Now, guys, after the Acorn, Mark Cassie himself mentioned the possibility of running her in the Travers. Now they're not talking about that anymore because I like to tell owners and trainers what to do or what to think. I put a column in the Thoroughbred Daily News on Monday saying she should run in the Travers. Zoe, am I out of my mind?
It depends who's going to run in the Travers, right? I think it really depends who's going in there. And sure, have it in your back pocket. Have a caveat that, we're going to just stick her in there and see what happens. Right now, the Jim Dandy, we'll get to that a little bit later on, but that's kind of an underwhelming race with just 5 horses in there. So at this point, she loves Saratoga. She's healthy. She doesn't really look like a 3-year-old filly per se. She's really filled out and she's on her A game right now. If I was Mark Casse, I would definitely keep that in my back pocket without having to commit.
Randy?
Yeah. If you get Golden Tempo and you get Renegade and you get the 1-2 finishers from the Haskell and you get Chief Wallaby and you get some of these other 3-year-olds, yeah. I mean, run her in the Alabama, I would. But if some of those horses drop out and all of a sudden the Travers doesn't look quite as imposing as it does right now, I agree with Zoe. Keep it in your back pocket.
Well, we shall see. It's interesting. There has not been a filly to win the Travers since 1915. So, it's been obviously difficult for fillies along the way, though. Torpedo Anna did run second in the Travers back in her year. So at Del Mar on Saturday, we had the Bing Crosby and some very bad news, of course. Cornucopian broke down and had to be euthanized. We're all, of course, very sad to see that happen. But the winner of the race is a very interesting horse. And, someone who's really kind of snuck up on us, and that's Listen Up Chance. Now, how about this? So you talked about bargains. A $10,000 yearling. Horse broke his maiden for $20,000. Now he's a grade 1 winner. What a job Doug O'Neill has done with this horse. And, we'll see. Got beat by Bookham Dano. We've got to mention that in the True North. So he's not in Dano's category yet, but he ran a great race in the True North. But, these are, I love horses like this. You don't give up on them. The horse, Doug O'Neill finds something out about the horse, gets him good. And right now, at least on the West Coast, I think you can make an argument that he's the best sprinter out there.
And it will be tough when you look back at his PPs and you see maiden 20, DNF, wins a $50,000 claimer, and then he starts running well in the greatest stakes. They're all at Del Mar. He's clearly a horse who loves Del Mar. 4 of his wins have come at the Seaside Oval. He's by chance a lot. And yes, he deserved the win. Was he getting a little bit late? Yes, he was. But the wire came just in time. He carved out fractions of 21-4, 44 and 56-1. He has the right to get tired. And Doug O'Neill, we've seen this time and time again from him. He just does very well, claiming horses, getting these horses in his barn and gradually, incrementally moving them up the ladder. And Listen Up Chance and Jaramillo, who's very good out of the gate, and him and Doug O'Neill have been a formidable team over the course of the last 6 months. Kudos to them. Is he the best sprinter? Probably not. Does he love Del Mar? Absolutely. So I'm sure he'll just continue at Del Mar, but he was getting caught late.
So again, I'm going to go back to the whole narratives thing here, right? You look at the True North. And Listen Up Chance throws a fit in the starting gate. He breaks slowly from the starting gate. He's rushed up the inside. And after all that, he goes 43.44 for a half, 107.95 for 6 furlongs. And yet he's still battling the last eighth of a mile with Bookham Dano and Ben Tornado, the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. He's beaten 3/4 of the length. So how in the world does he go off at 5.5 to 1 in the Bing Crosby? Well, it's because the narrative was that the only reason Listen Up Chance ran that well in the True North is that he was on a fast rail, that there was a rail bias. He ran 10 points faster, Beyer Speed Figure, than he'd ever run before. And there's no way on paper you could have expected him to be competing with Bookham Dano and Ben Tornado. It had to be a fast rail. Well, it turns out, if the rail was fast on True North Day, there's certainly a lot more to Listen Up Chance than that, because he came back and followed that 103 Beyer in the True North with the 104 in the Bing Crosby, and he proved that he's for real.
So back at Saratoga, as well as the coaching club, the story was Irad Ortiz, who was aboard Counting Stars and also won the Alfred Vanderbilt as well. We kind of have looked at the year that it's all about Jose Ortiz. And then Irad Ortiz reminds us on Saturday what a terrific jockey he is and how accomplished he is. 6 wins on Saturday's card, tied the record for most wins at Saratoga, co-held by Ramon Dominguez and John Velasquez. And this is really interesting to me. Irad missed the first 6 days of the meet, 5 days for a suspension. Then on the 6th day, he went off to Horseshoe, Indianapolis to ride and win the Indiana Derby. At that point, Jose Ortiz had 14 wins. So he spotted his brother 14 wins. Now, the current standings, Jose has 24 wins. Irad has 18, but he's only had 67 mounts to 107 for Jose. I'm not counting this guy out. He's going for his 5th straight Saratoga riding title, Zoe. Does he have a chance?
Of course he does. He's Irad Ortiz, but let's just not forget you've got Prat in the mix as well.
Yes, you do.
So we're recording this on Tuesday. Prat has 27 wins. Jose's leading the money earned roster, but Prat has 27. Jose has 24. So Pratt's in the mix and he's going to be winning races in bunches, but they're all going to travel out of town at some point or another. But if you look at Irad on Saturday, you think, oh, well, yeah, he won 6 races, but surely they're all like 1 to 5 and 1 to 9. No, you are getting double-digit payouts left, right, and center at the moment on Irad Ortiz, which to me is absolutely amazing. He's winning horses 4 to 1, 6 to 1, 8 to 1. He is just riding out of his mind right now. So yeah, absolutely. Top 3. I think someone tweeted the other day, why don't I just box Ortiz, Pratt in every single race and I'm going to make money? And you most definitely are.
All right, so let me throw something out here. Let's suppose he continues this unbelievable, sensational run at Saratoga, and against all odds, he winds up being the leading jockey at Saratoga, and he wins the Travers, and he wins the Jockey Club Gold Cup, and he just kills it in graded stakes the second half of the meet. Last week, or was it the week before, Bill, you had given the Eclipse Award to Jose Ortiz. Would that?
Yeah. It's over. The race is over. Jose's got it. Won.
Okay.
Never mind.
I'm with you, Bill. It's over.
Okay. Oh, but it's right.
Zoe,
both of you said it. Both of you.
Yeah, both of us. So, well, whatever. Right. Wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong about something, but we shall see. I mean, Jose's still the leader in the clubhouse, but
yes,
it's going to be fascinating second half to the season. And Randy, you're right. I wouldn't put it past Irad to just win everything in sight and be named the Eclipse Award winner when it's all said and done. So congratulations to Irad for a sensational Saturday. He backed it up with 2 more on Sunday, and he is just absolutely on fire. We're going to hear from Keeneland and find out who the fastest horse of the week is. We come back after that. You're going to hear from Terry Finley more about Counting Stars as he's the Gainesway guest of the week.
Do want to remind you that each and every week, the TDN Writers Room is brought to you by Keeneland, the biggest spotlight for the biggest moments. That sums up Keeneland this fall. Listen to this. The festivities kick off with a September sale from September the 14th through the 26th, followed by the fall meet October the 2nd through the 24th, and then the championship sale on October the 26th, followed by the Breeders' Cup October 30th to the 31st. If that's not enough, stick around because we'll have the November sale as well, which features the breeding stock sale beginning on the November the 3rd and concluding with the November Horses of Racing Age sale on November the 11th. Make plans to attend and learn more at www.keeneland.com. There you go.
We do this so your granddaughter can work on a farm someday. So the stands will still be packed in 50 years. That's why we come to work every day, obsess over every single detail. Because the story of racing is written one moment at a time. And the future of our industry deserves nothing less. Keeneland, every moment matters.
Now for the fastest horse of the week, brought to you by the Fast Sires at WinStar Farm. We know speed is key for sires these days. And if you're looking for speed, you don't have to look any further than Nashville. He already has 6 speedy winners from his first crop 2-year-olds, making him the 6th leading first crop sire already by number of winners. Of course, as a racehorse, Nashville was exquisitely fast. He was a TDN Rising Star right off the bat. He broke his maiden by 11.5 lengths at Saratoga, no less. And when you look at his races and break them down by fractional times, that'll tell you exactly how fast he was. 21 and change opening quarter miles in 6 of his 8 starts. Sub 44 half miles on 3 different occasions. So if you're looking for speed, and everybody is nowadays, look no further than Nashville. Now for the fastest horse of the week, he ran on Saturday on the Coaching Club American Oaks undercard in the Grade 2 Alfred G. Vanderbilt. We talked about him last week. Built, the 4-year-old colt by Hardspun, owned by Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners and trained by Wayne Catalano. Eclipse had some bad news, of course, last week with journalism, but great news that Built is now developing into one of the very best sprinters in America. The 6-furlong Vanderbilt, he won it by 2.5 lengths in 109.14. Beyer Speed Figure 105. That comes on the heels of a 106 Beyer back in March at the fairgrounds. So he's running very well visually, impressively to watch, and also by the clock. Built at a 105 Beyer, our fastest horse of the week.
Welcome in now the Gainesway guest of the week, and is the founder and president of West Point Thoroughbreds, Terry Finley, who I imagine is still about 10 feet off the ground after the Coaching Club American Oaks and just an absolutely tremendous performance by their filly Counting Stars. Terry, however, were there some anxious moments in the stretch? Always a runner came up to her. Your filly looked her in the eye and took off, but for half a second there, did you think, maybe not today?
Yeah, I did. I thought we'd be second best, and we'd be starting to get a plan together for the Alabama, Bill. But I think you had 2 very good fillies, and they hooked up, and I'm just glad we got the job done there. It was an exciting race, and I think it was a packed. I wasn't even there, but I was in Kentucky at a birthday party for my grandkids. So I was watching on TV as well, but it certainly seemed like everybody had a good time, and it was a great day at the races for a lot of people, for sure.
So you mentioned the Alabama, Terry. She was so impressive, Counting Stars, winning the Acorn, that there was some buzz at that point that if she would come back and win impressively in the Coaching Club, that maybe the Travers would be a possibility. I don't know if that came from Mark or if that came from you or whoever. So now she wins the Coaching Club very impressively. Is that even a possibility at this point, or are you pretty much locked in on the Alabama?
All right, so let me get a couple facts straight here. That was from Mark. That was not from me.
Okay.
So our focus is on the Alabama. We think it'd be really cool if we were to come back and to run well, Randy, again, and to win all 3 of those. Obviously, they took away the Mother Goose, but before there would be 4 of them. Now there are 3 of them. But Sky Beauty was the last filly, and that was in 1993 to win the Triple Tiara. So, and there are 3 others, Shoe V and a couple others that really are I think they've locked their place in the history books of thoroughbred racing. So that's what we're focused on. Of course, we're going to see how everything turns out. You got the Jim Dandy coming up, and we still have a month to go. But I would say that there's a very, very good chance we're in the entry box for the Alabama.
Terry, in this day and age, West Point isn't afraid to spend 7 figures on a horse at the sales. How did you find this filly for $150,000 at OBS?
Well, Bill, I think there are a couple things. One is we raced the mare, and so George Weaver trained the mare, painter by number. She's a painter. We bought her out at the Barrett sale when that was still in existence, and we always thought she could run. She had quite a bit of talent. We just couldn't keep her sound, and we ended up losing her for $40,000. And when we saw this horse, this filly, at the 2-year-old in transit, we know they give they give $15,000 for her in book 5 at the Keeneland sale. But boy, she just presented herself really well, a classy filly. And I have always been a big fan of Honor AP. I remember the day that he ran in the Kentucky Derby and he just had a brutal trip into the first turn. He ended up finishing 4th. And I thought with a little bit of luck, he could have been 2nd, or he might have been the Derby winner. And his whole staying career would have, obviously been a lot different at the beginning. But now he's starting to pick up. But you put all those together. In fact, we own the mare. I like the stallion. Our team liked the stallion, and the fact that she was a pretty good physical. I thought she moved really well over the synthetic down at OBS, and we took a shot. Obviously, everybody knows when you go to the sales, you can spend a lot of money, and you can come up with just horses. And every year we see it. And I think that's the beautiful thing that keeps us all coming back is to see those horses that don't break the bank, that are really prominent and at their top of their divisions in racing. So I think she's one of those.
So when she won the Fantasy Stakes at Oaklawn, the narrative at the time was, she was really impressive. She wins by 5.5, but Explora scratched out of the race and she would have been the favorite and maybe it would have been different. Then in the Kentucky Oaks, she finishes 3rd behind Always a Runner, and she might have had a little bit of traffic, but I think most people, I don't know how you felt about it, that watched the Oaks came away thinking that Always a Runner was the best horse in the race. Now, Counting Stars has just kicked Always a Runner's butt now twice in a row. Did you see this improvement coming when Counting Stars got to Saratoga?
I mean, we had hoped for it. Of course, Randy. I thought we were 3rd best on Oaks Day. You can dissect those until the cows come home. You run 3rd, you get beat 1.5 lengths, 2 lengths. Yeah, I mean, she doesn't always like to run, or she hasn't run well being down inside. Every time she's gotten out and into the clear, she's run much better. But, when you're 3rd best and you give your best effort, you just turn the page. And I think that's what we've done well over the years. So we don't look back. We were hoping that, she would get to Saratoga. She would really thrive in the environment, which a lot of horses do. A lot of fillies, especially, they come up here, the temperature and the water and just the calmness of being at Saratoga. And we were hoping for it. We didn't know it was going to happen, but man, when she turned in that performance in the Acorn, we were like, this could be a good summer for us.
So, Terry, people in racing love celebrity power. It's so nice when we reach out beyond the racing world. What's Dan Patrick's involvement with this horse? He was in the winner's circle. Apparently, he devoted part of his show. That's great for racing. It's great for West Point. Tell us more how this came to be.
Yeah, we have a partner who's only he's in all kinds of businesses. And so he's been on 2 horses. He's been on Sandman and he's been on Counting Stars. So I guess he's had a lifelong friendship with Dan Patrick. About 3 weeks ago, he said, hey, if everything works out and we run in the coaching club, I'm going to bring Dan Patrick up to Saratoga and we'll get together for dinner. And I think he'll have a good time. We'll try to get him into the game. So, yeah, I mean, that was the background there. I wasn't here all weekend, but they said he just was really fascinated. I guess he's had some exposure when he worked at ESPN or whatever, but he had worked at Belmont and the Preakness a couple of times. So, he had exposure to the business, but he had never been an insider, so to speak. And they say he just had a great time. And yeah, that's really good. I mean, that's a very, very popular show. And I think he spent like almost 5 minutes talking about his trip to Saratoga and the fun he had and the fact that his wife won a bunch of races betting and he got in the winner's circle. So
that helps.
I agree. Like, I know this is, we've talked about this before, but the more we can just keep driving into people, like just give our business a shot. right? Give us a chance to expose you to this beautiful business and a beautiful industry and a beautiful sport that that we all love. You can't go wrong. And I think there's another example. And I just love the fact that I see other people doing the same thing. They're bringing celebrities to the business and to the races, and like, we can't get enough of that. And I'd offer to everybody in the business. We all owe a lot to this industry. So anything and everything we can do to bring people and attention, we should do it. And I think it should be an obligation that we all take very seriously.
And your man, Griffin Johnson, has helped in that regard as well. So obviously West Point's about much more than just counting stars. This next weekend at Colonial Downs in the Arlington Million, you've got integration going. Tell us your thoughts about his chances.
I sure would like to have this horse end up a Grade 1 winner. I think he would have been. I think he would have won a total of 5 Grade 1 winners, if not for about 2 lengths. So, he's just been a hard luck type of horse. I thought he was in a very good spot last year. He finished 3rd. He got beat a couple. I think he was like 4-5 in the Arlington Million. I think Burnham Square is going to be the favorite on Saturday. I saw him run at Churchill Downs. He's really come into his own, son of Liam's Map. But I think we've had a good build up overall, Randy, to the Arlington Million, and I think we're set to run well. And I'm looking forward to it. Johnny V is going to go down for us, which is always a good thing. And I think we're in with a fighting shot. I just hope that Burnham Square doesn't run the race of his life, because he's been pretty impressive, especially this year as he's got on the turf.
Well, if he does, West Point had Liam's Map, so there you would have that at least, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Terry, if you win the Arlington Million, I believe that'll be the 200th stakes win for West Point. What will that milestone mean to you?
I'd say, Bill, it'd be cool, right? Milestones are milestones. They're good to kind of check off. But we've been at it. We celebrated our 35th year of doing partnerships this year. And one question I get a lot is, like, do you still get nervous before races? Yes, that it's the excitement, it's the nervousness. But do you still really love this game and love what you do? And I say, absolutely. Like, this is, the puzzle of, going to the yearling sales, which we're going to do in a couple weeks. And then working with the trainers and the other professionals that have the hands-on with our horses and our partners and our staff. Like, it's just it's a great thing. And it gets us all out of bed in the morning. We can't wait to get to work. And I'm 62 years old. And I know a lot of other 62-year-olds that don't love what they do, and they've never loved what they've done. So I feel very blessed in that respect. But we'll get to 200 sooner or later, I hope, and then we'll start working on 201.
So West Point's obviously had a long list of very good horses, a Kentucky Derby winner and Always Dreaming, but perhaps none faster than Flightline. And now we're seeing Flightline's babies begin to run as 2-year-olds, and I guess West Point has some of those as well. Tell us about them.
Yeah, we kind of went all in. I understand when over the years, Randy, you see the owners that end up with really good horses that stand stud, and they say they're going to support them. And I always kind of scratch my head, but now I know what it is about, because we've supported our boy Flightline, and as a lot of other people have. I think he's got a good shot to make a mark. We've got, I think, with our breeding stock, we have like 18 of them, and wow. So I hope they run. I know we're going to try to win our first stake with a Flightline. Rudy Rodriguez's colt that was so impressive, breaking his maiden at Aqueduct. So in the Saratoga Special. So we're hoping. I know the weight of the expectations has been immense on this horse, and everybody's waiting for the first breakout. But all the while, the life is good. They're all running. The Golden Pals are running. So I hope at some point in the fall we're kind of in contention to be the leading freshman sire. But we know that's not the be all end all. But I think they've been well received overall in the industry.
Terry, speaking of Flightline, I have a bad habit. I can't read my own handwriting, but on the 5th race at Saratoga on Saturday, you guys have a Flightline first-time starter. Again, fill me in on the name. Flightress. And give us a scouting report on her.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like when I picked up the cut the other day, and I saw that's a very tough race. I think the combined value, the sales value is, I don't know, $7 or $8 million, a couple $1 million fillies in there. But boy, she's done really well. Obviously, you don't expect Shug McGahee to rush them off their feet, and Shug is not with this filly. We bought her at the September sale. We broke her down at Dr. Eisman's in Ocala, and boy, she hasn't missed a beat. And I think we're going to see a good effort. I don't know. We all chuckle. We all go into the paddock with first-time starters at Saratoga, and there's 7 of them that cannot and will not get beat. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with our filly, but I do know there'll probably be a good number of people that are in the paddock thinking they won't get beat. So that's a good thing about our business is they have to settle it on the racetrack. So,
well, Terry, congratulations on counting stars, and I'm of the opinion you should go in the Travers, but my opinion doesn't matter. So, anyways, congratulations.
I read your expose, Bill. I read you guys. So I'd say point well taken. I talked to Cassie. I don't know. I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years, probably better. I met him 35 years ago at the Barrett sale when he was actually selling horses for the Mangorians. And we've always been friends, but man, what an interesting guy. And he's always thinking. And of course, the buzz term is thinking outside the box. But, I think a lot will depend on the filly Nitrogen and to see what she does against the Whitney field. But I don't know. I know he's infatuated with this filly. So I think if Mark Cassie's infatuated with her, so are we. And boy, she's a joy to be around and a joy to be part of. That's for sure.
Well, take my column as a compliment to how much I think of her. So I hope you saw it that way. But there's obviously nothing wrong with winning the Alabama and sweeping those 3 Grade 1 races. Terry, thank you so much for being our Gainesway guest of the week. Congratulations on counting stars, and good luck getting to that number 200.
All the best, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our guest of the week, West Point Thoroughbreds, Terry Finley, came to you courtesy of Gainesway, the home to the stallion Locked, who covered his first book of mares this spring, 226 of them, as a matter of fact. So what made Locked so popular? Well, to begin with, he was a graded stakes winner at 2, at 3, and at 4. He retired with earnings of over $1.9 million, having won or placed in 10 of his 11 starts. He broke his maiden at Saratoga. He won by over 7 lengths in that maiden race with a 96 Beyer. That was the fastest among 2-year-old colts on dirt in maiden races at Saratoga since 2015. He was a Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old, winning the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. And then, of course, at 3, he won the Cigar Mile. He beat Bookham Dano. Sorry about that there, Bill. And at 4, probably the most impressive race of his career was the Santa Anita Handicap, in which he just ran off and hid by 8.5 lengths, the largest margin in that race ever. Combination for success, Locked, standing at Gainesway Farm.
And it's lights out. Locked, pouring it on, running aggressively through the stretch to win by 7 easy lengths.
Here is Locked. Locked racing by on the outside for the lead. Locked, the wine steward. It is Locked.
Here comes Locked after Mulligan. Locked catching with every single stride, and Locked will win the Cigar Mile.
It's all about Locked, dominating the Big Cup, cruising home to an effortless 8-length romp.
The Pennsylvania breeding program is the best program in the country. The Stallion Awards, the owner bonuses, also the restricted races and the stakes races for Pennsylvania breds. Last year, 321 Pennsylvania breeders earned Breeders' Awards. 22 Pennsylvania breeders earned over $100,000. We have the best program in the country. Take advantage of the fantastic program that we have. Learn more at pabred.com.
The TDN Writers Room also brought to you by our friends at the PHBA, the Pennsylvania Horse Breeders Association. If you've been watching this podcast, you don't have to ask yourself this, but suppose you're watching it for the first time. Why should I breed and race in Pennsylvania? Well, we'll tell you. You could add up to an additional 40% in owners' bonuses added to the purse for horses finishing first through third. In Pennsylvania, there are 331 racing days to pick from at 3 different racetracks. 40% Breeders' Awards, first through third for Pennsylvania sired, Pennsylvania bred horses. 20% Breeders' Awards, first through third finishers for non-Pennsylvania sired, but Pennsylvania bred horses. Millions of dollars are available in restricted races and restricted stakes, and 321 different breeders received a share of $23 million in awards and bonuses. You can start making your plans now to purchase or breed a Pennsylvania bred. You can visit www.pabred.com, or you can call Brian Sanfratello at 610-444-1050.
Well, one of the news of the week was that Joe Harper is retiring at age 83 after running Del Mar. He joined Del Mar in 1977. And I just want to give a shout out to a guy. He kind of was, always flew under the radar. Didn't make a lot of headlines. Wasn't somebody out there that, was really thumping his own chest. But look back at what he accomplished and what Del Mar became under his leadership. It's a phenomenon now. It's one of the great racetracks in the country. It has the Pacific Classic, which he brought in. It's run a couple of Breeders' Cups, which he was responsible for. And this is a guy who just for a long, long time did a great job. Josh Rubenstein will be promoted to take over as the head man at Del Mar. I'm sure he'll do very well as well in that position. Zoe, you're a California person. What did you think of Joe Harper's leadership at Del Mar?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. If you've ever been to Del Mar, you've met Joe Harper. Always greets you with a smile. He's a funny guy, very funny guy to be around. He was responsible for the Breeders' Cup first getting to Del Mar in 2017. They followed that up with 21, 24, and 25. And you've got Joe to thank for that. He's still going to be around Del Mar in kind of a management status, just not running things on a day-to-day status. But he will be definitely missed. But don't expect him just to disappear off into the sunset. That's not Joe's MO. He'll be around and probably actually just enjoying himself a bit more, putting his feet up, going and shaking hands and kissing some babies. He's a great guy. And he's a very smart guy. He kind of was under the radar for an awful long time, but he's the guy that got things done at Del Mar. And I think they can really appreciate that fact as well.
Yeah, Zoe knows him a whole heck of a lot better than I do. All I got to say is that regardless of his, or in addition to everything that he's done from a behind the scenes perspective and front of the line perspective at Del Mar, his business acumen, his knowledge of the sport. Anytime I'm at any sort of horse racing event, banquet, where Joe Harper is going to be speaking. I greatly look forward to it because he is one of the great raconteurs in horse racing. That guy could entertain a room for an hour without a script. Just throw him up in front of a microphone and let him start talking and let him start telling stories. I hope he continues in that regard as well.
Yeah, congratulations to Joe Harper for just an absolutely tremendous career at Del Mar. So speaking of Del Mar, there was some good news and bad news in the San Diego handicap. The good news for journalism was he ran the race of his life, left at the gate, looked hopelessly beaten, and showed his gameness to win that race. The bad news was that the gate incident that caused him to break poorly, he was injured and had to be retired. Again, talk about shout outs. Was he the best horse we've seen over the last couple of years? No, because he was beaten several times by some very good horses like Sovereignty. But the way this horse was campaigned, I got to give the ownership group a tremendous amount of credit. Eclipse Thoroughbreds and their partners, they never ducked a challenge. And this horse was game. He showed up every single time. And it's a shame because, I assume he was being pointed for the Pacific Classic. And coming off the San Diego, you would have had to give him a big chance in there. He won a bunch of grade 1 races. He's going off to Coolmore to stud. I'm sure he'll be a tremendous sire as well. But, this is a horse who, Randy, was really easy to like because, again, you don't see this too often. Horse shows up every single time. Didn't win every race, but he always ran. And again, they campaigned him at the highest level every single race virtually of his career.
Yeah. Well, if there was any race the journalism ran that I would put on a stallion advertisement as a testament to his determination and his gameness and his courage, it would be the Preakness. The San Diego, he won it. I didn't particularly love the race at all. He didn't beat anybody. He didn't win it in fast time at all. He won it with a Beyer Speed Figure of 94. Yes, you could kind of take it with a grain of salt because of what happened to him at the start. He did overcome that, but he did not run one of journalism's A races, and I think now we know why. He hurt himself. The story is the news blurb is that he hurt himself in the starting gate as he left the gate. That's what they believe. And I believe it because during the running of the race, I think it was a good race to overcome what he did, but it wasn't the journalism, in my opinion, that we'd seen in the past. And there's a logical explanation for it now that we know. And it's too bad that it happened because he had a lot more to give, I think, in his 4-year-old season.
Gutsy. That's one way you could definitely describe him. Gutsy, throwback, sound, even though apparently he left with an injury. The string of races that he put together is evidence of his soundness over the course of his 3-year-old campaign. He was most definitely a throwback horse by Curlin, by a grade 1 winner, out of a grade 1 winner, Mopotism, not making those anymore. She unfortunately passed away. So he will be a hit at stud. There is no question in my mind. And he is an absolutely beautiful horse. And one thing you can't buy is heart and tenacity. And he proved that time and time again.
So speaking of the Pacific Classic, Bill Mott has now committed Knightsbridge to the race. And this is a fascinating horse to me. And Randy, you'll appreciate the horse because you're the Beyer guy, 122 Beyer winning the Monmouth Cup. And really probably the most, I know, well, he did beat Skippy Longstocking, so I can't say he didn't beat anything, but I think you can make an argument that was the most impressive race run by any horse this year.
Oh, yeah.
But he's still a horse that's an enigma to me. He didn't show up in the Churchill Downs Stakes. He got beat by Nisos in the Met Mile. And then for the first time, Bill Mott stretches him out and runs in a 2-turn race at Monmouth. And he absolutely freaks out. Now, was it the sloppy track? What was going on? But where do you put this horse now in the higher echelon of the older horses? There's also the question of, a horse that Bill Mott, who's a great trainer, didn't seem to want to run beyond a mile. all of a sudden he's going to be running in a 1.25 mile race. I'll be fascinated to see what he does in this race.
That's the right word. It's going to be fascinating to see exactly how, because so far he's the kind of horse that when he runs against horses that he's definitely supposed to beat, he just demolishes them. I mean, he wins by 10. He wins by 9. He just kicks sand in their face. He just destroys them. And then when he runs against really classy, top of the line, grade 1 horses, he doesn't run quite that well. But so now what's going to happen when he's rematched with Nysos? I mean, Zoe, maybe he's one of these horses that at longer distances, he runs better when he gets into a rhythm and, you know, he's not being asked to keep up with 44 and change, 45 and change paces. He just likes to kind of, you know, get into his little running pattern. And if that's the case, 1.25 miles could be really, really tough.
And we don't know how good he is going 2 turns. We do know because he ran a 122 Beyer, but that is the only time he's ever gone 2 turns. Sky could be the limit for Knightsbridge. And, you know, Bill Mott has said that he's just been unable for various reasons to string together a good campaign because Bill is a patient trainer and just likes to step them up in distance incrementally as they go along. So he's never really had the shot to string a couple of sprint rows, you know, 2 sprints to a route to get him to 2 turns because there's always a layoff line or something happens with Knightsbridge. So this will be really the first time that he'll be able to put, hopefully, 2 good races together. Now, Pratt will have a decision. I mean, obviously, you would think he would definitely stick with Nysos for the Hall of Famer, but then Bill Mott will need a rider. I'm sure it won't be a problem with Junior Alvarado or anybody for that matter to ride Knightsbridge. But if those 2 stay healthy and show up, that could be a really good race.
When's the last time a horse ran a 122 Beyer?
Flightline. Flightline in the Pacific Classic ran a 126. Before that, you got to go all the way back to Midnight Loot. Midnight Loot in the Forego, I think, ran a 124. What's interesting about Flightline and the Pacific Classic, I just called up his past performances here on my screen. Going into the Pacific Classic, remember, he had never run around 2 turns, ever. He won the Met Mile. His high career Beyer Speed Figure going into the Pacific Classic was 118. And now here we go with Knightsbridge going into the Pacific Classic with a 122. It just adds to the interest and the intrigue of, you know, exactly how good of a horse is Knightsbridge going to be at the longer distances.
All right, we're going to take another break. We're going to hear about the Kentucky Breds, and also we're going to see the work of the week. And then when we come back, our team will preview the big races of this weekend. Stay with us.
The TDN Writers Room also brought to you by Kentucky Breds, and congratulations to one of those Kentucky Breds, Scandinavia, a son of Justify. This is breaking news just as we're getting ready to tape this podcast on Tuesday, July the 28th. Scandinavia, boom, wins the Group 1 Goodwood Cup. Meanwhile, August the 15th is the early low cost nomination deadline to nominate your mares to the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Fund. Nominating by August the 15th cost only $60. Nominations filed after August 15 through the end of the year cost $150 instead. So where does that money go? For the second year in a row now, $20 million was paid to breeders participating in the Kentucky Thoroughbred Breeders Incentive Fund, the KTBIF. That was in the calendar year 2025. KTBIF has provided, get this, more than $250 million with a B dollars to breeders of Kentucky Breds, winning races worldwide since that program was first instituted back in 2005. To unlock Kentucky's lucrative awards for yourself, secure eligibility at a low cost by August 15.
With some of the fullest fields in the country and quality racing year-round, there's never been a better time to reap the rewards of breeding and racing in Kentucky. Purse money in Kentucky is at an all-time high, as is average purse per race, outpacing California, Florida, and New York. Kentucky Breds. Breed them, raise them, race them. We all win.
Be a smarter better with First TV. The best horses, with thousands of exclusive morning workouts. All at your fingertips and delivered right into your inbox. Everything you need to be informed. Be smart. Bet smart. With First TV.
The TDN Writers Room Work of the Week is brought to you by First TV. It's all about Golden Tempo this week after settling in last week at Saratoga, the Kentucky Derby and Belmont Stakes winner. Golden Tempo had his first ever work at the Spa. He went an easy half mile on the main track on Sunday, getting the half mile in 48.51 in company with his stablemate being myself. Golden Tempo's on the inside, wearing the blinkers with Jose Ortiz aboard him in the blue. Plans originally called for Golden Tempo to run in the Jim Dandy Stakes, but a bout of pneumonia scrapped those plans. And after 4 days of treatment at Rood and Riddle in Lexington, he's back and seemingly better than ever for the August the 29 Travers Stakes. I give that work a big A+. The gallop out was sensational, and he looks as good as he's ever been.
Well, a huge card at Colonial Downs on Saturday, highlighted by the Arlington Million. I think it's great that they kept this race alive after Arlington Park closed down. Burnham Square certainly looks like the horse to beat. I'm a little surprised he's 5-2 in the morning line. Now, he didn't exactly blow him away in his last start, but he showed his tenacity. He looked so good in the Louisville and the Elkhorn. I got to think that he's the horse to beat in here. And also, he's turning back in distance. I wonder perhaps if you might make an argument in the mile and quarter. I hate, this is crazy to say this, might be a little bit too short for him after he thrived in these longer distant races. But Randy, I've got to go with Burnham Square in here. I was so impressed by him since Ian Wilkes has turned him into this long distance grass horse. So amazing to me. The horse that won the Bluegrass is now the maybe the favorite for the breeder, among American horses, the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Turf.
Honestly, I think he's a bet against.
Okay.
For the exact reason you said. Ian Wilkes has turned this horse into a long distance specialist. You can draw a line in Burnham Square's past performances, and the Burnham Square that we know now became that Burnham Square when they ran 1.5 miles in the Elkhorn. And then he came back and ran 1.5 miles in the Louisville. And then he runs 1 3/8 miles in the Chorleywood. And now he's backing down all the way to 1.25 miles. I think it's very reasonable to suspect that maybe he won't be quite as good at the shorter distances because he wasn't as good until they ran him 1.5 miles on the turf. Integration, to me, is probably the horse to beat in there. He was third, beaten just 1.25 lengths in the Arlington Million last year. He didn't get the best trip in the Manhattan, but he finished okay to be beaten a little less than 2 lengths in that race. The distance is a little bit more suited, I think, to Integration than maybe to Burnham Square. So I'll try to go against the favorite here.
I think you're onto a good thing there. Integration was, like you mentioned, third last year and second the year before that. So Shug McGahee's done a great job with this 6-year-old keeping him around. You got last year's winner in here as well in Fort Washington, don't we?
Yeah, and test score. And test
score is I think test score may be the most dangerous of all because he can be super tactical when he wants to be. And, he's run well down there before. But, wouldn't it be great to see Shug McGahee win an Arlington Million? And when did it get back to be $1 million? Am I missing something? Because I remember it got to as low as Hugh Robertson won it with James Graham one year. And he's like, great, I win the Arlington Million and it's 400,000. I'm not sure when it got to be back up to $1 million, but I saw that when I was looking at the PPs and I was delighted. I'm like, finally, it's back to $1 million. It might have been last year. Maybe I just didn't notice.
It was last year as well. Yes.
It was? Okay.
Yeah, okay. The other big race it's a huge card, the Beverly D. We have to mention that as well. That's the race for fillies. I love Graham Motion's horse in here, the South African bred. Give me another. First time out of the box off a layoff. She got a perfect trip in this Eatontown race at Monmouth, stalking a 99-1 shot, but she just took off on the stretch and won very comfortably. I think Graham Motion's done a really good job. I think that was probably a prep for this race. I think she might even improve. didn't come up the strongest of races. It has been downgraded to a grade 2, which I think it probably deserves. There's also a lot of speed in this race, which I think will play against maybe Stellify. The Brad Cox horse is sure to take a lot of money. Didn't go to the front in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf, but was showing speed in all the races before that. Manny Franco will ride her at 3-1 morning line favorite. Zoe, your take on the Beverly D?
You hit the nail on the head when you said there's a lot of speed in here, and it's going to be a really good betting race. I'm not sure I could really pinpoint any one horse in here. Honestly, I haven't looked at it hard enough to really pinpoint one horse whatsoever. Perhaps the speed of the speed might be achieved. I don't know. You got horses coming from off the turf races. You got Pin Up Betty in there. It could well be Stellify's race to lose in here with Manny Franco. And she's probably got the best PPs of all of them. So it would be her race to lose. But I have a feeling Grand Motion might have a banner weekend at Colonial.
Yeah, I'll go with Bill here and give me another. I loved her last 2 races, one at Del Mar. And then in the Eatontown, yeah, she did get a perfect trip. It was also her first race since September. So even though Graham Motion's known for being able to get horses ready off the layoff, you certainly would expect, maybe a tick of improvement from the Eatontown now to the Beverly D. So I like her too.
All right, so let's turn our attention to Saratoga, where the marquee race is the Jim Dandy 5-horse field. You can really call it a 4-horse field. Asked and Answered is a maiden who should be about 500 to 1 in there. I don't know what to do with this race. Another race where there's no speed. I don't know who's going to go to the front. Renegade and Commandment are the 2 big names in there, and they both have to be respected. But I think Chip Honcho from the rail with Jose Ortiz coming off a nice win in the Ohio Derby over Oselli. Looks like Steve Asmussen has really gotten this horse now to the right level. The horse has improved in the Ohio Derby. I don't know. I mean, this is a race from a betting standpoint I have a hard time getting excited about. But just thinking Jose Ortiz, who is obviously a pretty smart rider, might be able to get Chip Honcho to the lead. And let's see if they can come and catch him, Randy.
Oh, he's definitely going to the lead. There's nobody else in there. There's no other horse in there that has got even close to Chip Honcho's early speed. And yes, Chip Honcho proved in the Preakness and he proved in the Ohio Derby that he doesn't have to have the lead to win. I mean, he won the Ohio Derby sitting 4th. But he's shown previously to that he runs very well on the front end. He's got the rail. He might go 50 for the half mile in here. Who knows? But the way the race looks on paper, from a tactical standpoint, you would have to think Chip Honcho would have an advantage there.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Does draw the rail. I'd say he's got one way to go and just go. It'll be interesting to see how Renegade bounces back with a little bit more time between races. Sorry about that, Bill, but that's what Todd Pletcher said he needed. A little bit more time for Renegade. He's been working just fine in the mornings, no better, no worse than he's ever worked before. Silent Tactic could be a horse to throw a spanner in the works. He's been working very, very nicely here at Saratoga, and he's also had a good bit of time off, which has enabled him to kind of fill out and grow into that big Tacitus frame that he's got. So he's interested with Louis Sayers aboard him for the first time. And then good old Commandment, Randy won't be watching this one train, gets the blinkers on. And Randy, look at this. He snuck in a couple of bullet works there. 59 and 2 for Commandment.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how hard someone was pedaling because I've not been able to watch it. So there might have been an awful lot of pedaling involved there, but a bullet work. You're getting Pratt. He's been aboard him before. He knows how to pedal him. Blinkers on for trainer Brad Cox. First time blinkers for Brad Cox, 23%. Gets a good draw on the outside. Could be a decent race.
And Commandment changes jockeys again. This is the horse that nobody ever seems to want to ride. Johnny Velasquez will be at Colonial Downs, and he picks up Flavian Pratt, but certainly picking up one of the great riders in racing. So that's not going to be a negative factor. Del Mar, we have the Clement Hirsch Grade 1, and this is for older fillies and mares. certainly a race where nobody jumps off the page. What do you do with Seismic Beauty? She won this race last year, then ran horribly in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and then at 2-5 didn't run very well in the Santa Margarita either. Got a 79 Beyer figure. That's not even going to come close to getting it done. It is Bob Baffert, but I can't take her off that last race. I'm a Majestic Oops fan, just because I think, look who she ran against last time out. She ran third in the Shawnee against Splendora and Immersive. Splendora came back to win the Molly Pitcher. Immersive came back to win the Fleur de Lis. I don't think there's a Splendora in this field. I know the PA bred, our friends will be rooting for Simply Joking. You certainly got to respect her. I know Aggie Ordonez has done a great job with Almond Joy, coming off a win in the Santa Margarita. She's certainly a contender, but my pick will be Zoe Majestic Oops.
I mean, we have to face it that it really is Seismic Beauty's race to lose. She will be an overwhelming favorite in here. She's had a little bit of time off to recover from that subpar effort in which Almond Joy beat her. Only 4 horses in the race that day. She really didn't have much excuse at odds on that day. But she's had time. She comes back for the Hall of Famer. He knows how to get one ready off a short break. Watch out for Almond Joy, the cowbred. She's definitely an overachiever in here. She's also been freshened for this race specifically by Aggie. She should get a good trip. She's a kind of filly that looks like she's done at the Quarter Bowl, but just keeps on grinding and keeps on coming. The 1.16 miles, probably not her optimum distance. 1 1/8 smacks her right between the eyeballs. But other than that, it's not a race that I would get terribly excited about, to be perfectly honest.
So Almond Joy ran the race of her life, obviously, to win the Santa Margarita. She's come back with a very impressive, at least on paper, bullet workout at Del Mar, going a half. In the Santa Margarita, everything's set up for her. They went the half in 45.37, 6 furlongs and 109.30. But it's going to happen again. It looks like it's going to happen again because you got Seismic Beauty in there once again, who runs her best races on the front end. So what happened to Seismic Beauty in the Santa Margarita is she and Simply Joking went out there and sizzled early, battled head-to-head in a speed duel for the first part of the race, and Simply Joking's back in there again and is drawn inside of Seismic Beauty. And Simply Joking continued on very well to finish second in the Santa Margarita, despite those early exertions. So it looks to me like it's going to be one of these, fast early, slow late kind of races again. And it could set up again for a horse like, like Almond Joy or Majestic Oops, for that matter, who's another come from behind her.
Oh, watch out for the shipper coming in from Saratoga. Eunomia has been training very well for Safi. She was entered here last week, and I think he opted to ship her all the way to Del Mar. So she's obviously doing very well if he's going to ship her all the way over there.
Hey, Zoe, tell us more about Aggie Ordonez. She's someone that I don't know very much about. She's obviously done a very good job with this filly, and I know you know her well. What's her story?
Aggie's great. Her dad was a jockey. Pete Ordonez, I think he ran in the Derby. Very good jockey. And Aggie came up after him. She basically primarily was stabled in Northern California when they were close to shutting Golden Gate down. She took a leap of faith, told her owners, hey, how about we try Southern California? And they came with her, and she's done really well. She just operates a small stable, very hands-on. Horses get as much time as they need. They get turned out when they need to be turned out. And this is basically her best horse in her barn. And she's got the full brother. That's Vodka Talking. So Almond Joy and Vodka Talking, great name, by the way, are full siblings. And Aggie's just doing a really good job. She's a good person, great to interview. We should have her on this podcast one of these days. But she's just doing a good job. She really is.
All right. Well, it's good to see somebody who flies under the radar have a good horse in Almond Joy, and should be an interesting race at Clement Hirsch. I'm not with you guys. I don't like Seismic Beauty one bit, but we shall see.
TDN Writers Room brought to you by West Point Thoroughbreds, and the partners and counting stars have legitimately hit the jackpot. For several of them, it's their very first experience in horse ownership. Imagine that, getting into the business with a horse like Counting Stars, finding yourself in the winner's circle at Saratoga twice now in grade ones, the Acorn Stakes. And, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the Coaching Club American Oaks. West Point Thoroughbreds has spent more than 30 years now to make those kind of experiences possible for their partners. If you've ever wondered how to get involved, West Point is holding a behind-the-scenes look during its Saratoga Sail Tour. That takes place on Sunday, August the 9th. Limited spots are still available. To reserve yours, email Allie, that's A-L-I, Allie, at westpointtb.com.
All the thrills. Fraction of the bills. Experience the power of the partnership. Change your life, make new friends, and compete at the highest level of thoroughbred racing. West Point Thoroughbreds, the gold standard in racing partnerships. Visit westpointtb.com.
So that's a wrap on this week's show. I want to thank our Gainesway guest of the week, Terry Finley. I want to thank my partners, Zoe Cadman and Randy Moss. And I especially want to thank the people that work behind the scenes, our directors and our producers. They're the real stars of the show, as I say each week. That's Sue Finley, Katie Petruniak, Anthony LaRocca, and Aaliyah LaRocca. Going to be another great weekend of racing. Enjoy it. We'll see you back next week.
You see Doodle? There's Doodle.
Hi, Doodle.
Where's Lucy? Lucy's there, right?
Here is Lucy. She's had some health issues over the last couple of weeks, and we were very afraid. But she is back in her customary spot and doing great.
Well, that's the best news we've heard in a long time. Once again, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week.